There has been such a long held stigma around depression that until recently, most people refuse to speak openly about it. As of 2022, nearly 20% of Americans suffer with some form of mental health illness, with depression being the second most prevalent, directly behind anxiety. I don't want to get into all the science behind what it is, but I want to briefly speak on my own personal story about living with it for most of my life and how, on the days when all I want to do is cover my head and hide under the comfort of blankets all day, life still demands that we keep moving forward. From an outsider's perspective, I had an idyllic childhood. If you didn't know any better, all of my needs were checked: mental and physical health, safety, normal social interactions. Check. But I had to learn at a very young age to hide the truth of what I was experiencing. I have been in survival mode most of my life without anyone else knowing, including my own family. I was sexually abused as a child by other males, which has created a lasting distrust in men to this day. I was also physically, verbally, mentally, and emotionally bullied by those who I was raised to believe were trustworthy. I was witness to physical and verbal abuse against my own mother, and I remember situations where there was heavy alcohol consumption and drug use. I hid all of this from friends and family and did not begin telling my story until the past few years when I began therapy. Places that most people would associate as safe were not to me. The place that I often escaped to was my own mind, but after years of believing that I am not worth loving or that my accomplishments were accidents and not intentional, my mind began to quickly become my biggest enemy against me. Depression can differ from person to person, but to me, depression is debilitating numbness that consumes the joy in my life. It is a multiplier for the negative things in life, telling me that if something does go wrong, it went wrong because of me, and that it wouldn't have gone wrong if I weren't part of the equation. It quickly erases any compliments that come my way, not allowing me to believe the things others say to me. It tells me that any goals I have achieved in life will be wiped away with the next failure I make. I live my life daily believing that I am not worth the life that I have, that I am one mistake away from losing it all. I had to have conversations with myself that when things go wrong, they aren't as bad as I make them out to be. I take failure very personally and use it as confirmation for the thoughts that consume my mind. Self love for someone suffering with depression is nearly non existent. In most situations in my life, I believe that it would be better if I weren't a part of it in a literal and metaphorical sense. Most people know these topics about depression, but one of the things people don't talk about is the comfort that sometimes can come from it. For a lot of those suffering with depression, it can sometimes be the one stable thing in their life that they can depend on to always be there. Depression has never failed me. It has never written me off in life. It has never been upset at me for struggling to process my emotions. My best ideas come from my deepest moments of depression. Granted, so do my worst. We need to stop talking about depression as if it is something that cannot be lived with. I have lived with depression most of my life, and while I struggle to acknowledge or believe it, by most people's standards, I have been very successful up to this point. Living with depression allows me to be more perceptive into how people are feeling in situations. It allows me to put a stronger emphasis on mental health awareness and taking the time needed to cope with issues as they arise. It allows me to be empathetic to the fact that we are all struggling to get by. It helps me be a better leader and to lift others up. Depression is not inherently bad. It is a mental health disorder, and it is something that we need more people to speak up about and to share their stories on. You can live a successful life with depression. For some people, they live with episodic periods of depression that come and go. For others, they live with it every day of their lives. It is just a part of who you are. It does not make you less than. For those who believe they may have depression or who know they have it and need some guidance on how to live with it, here are some things I've learned over the years. If you can't afford it, I recommend going to a therapist. Not everyone has a safe place they can go to just talk. Having someone who will listen to you without fear of judgment can make all the difference. If you can't afford a therapist or are on a waiting list for one, check your local community resources. There are several nonprofit organizations that are readily available to assist those in need. In the meantime, start journaling. Getting your thoughts out there can be so freeing. At that point, you're able to process them visually and see the lies that you're telling yourself. Work on self love. As I noted previously, for those who have struggled with depression, you will know this one can be extremely challenging as you never feel worthy of anything good in your life, but you are. Those around you see it, but you will never believe them until you start believing it yourself. Start telling yourself positive things daily, that you deserve to be loved, that you deserve to be successful, that you deserve to be happy, because you do. Go for brief walks when intrusive thoughts begin, preferably outside to clear your mind. If possible, leave the current situation you're in for a few moments to take a walk and get some fresh air. If you allow yourself to step away, often the negative self talk will stop. Find a community who shares your interests. You will always struggle if you surround yourself with those who don't support you and build you up. Sometimes that means separating yourself from people you were taught you had to keep in your life, including friends and family. Find people who love the same things you do and be in a community with them. Even if it's an online community, having people who will actively listen to you is important. And most importantly, With suicidal ideation often going hand in hand with depression, always hold on to your why. And if you think you don't have one, look harder. Why do you keep pushing to be a better person? Why do you keep getting out of bed every day? What are you thinking about while listening to this? Write it down, keep it in your wallet or purse, and when the days get hard, pull it out and keep that reminder close to you and to never give up. And always remember, you are kind, you are beautiful, you are loved, you are enough. It is not your fault, and you are not alone.